Good morning, everyone. I'm Babalwa Mkobeni, Content and Brand Manager for Standard Bank Top Women. Welcome to the Standard Bank Top Women Masterclass series. Today is our 8th episode, and today we are in discussion talking about education and skills development, structural unemployment, focusing on youth specifically. Now, our purpose as the #1 business-to-business media house in South Africa is to create a trusted network of over 10,000 women-owned and gender-empowered companies, linking top 1,000 corporates to 10,000 women-owned businesses. The key things that you will learn today, what we'll be looking at is our structural barriers structural barriers to youth entering the workplace. We'll be looking at discovering discovering strategies and instructional approaches designed to give youth access to the workplace. We'll also be looking at key insights from organizations who consider youth employment as a key business imperative. And we'll be looking at bridging the skills gap. Now, to the exciting part of today, we are joined by Pamela Xaba, who's the head of human capital Netstar. Pamela believes that HR chose her and she didn't choose HR, so she's very passionate about human resources. And we've got Babalwa Ngonyama, who's a very powerful businesswoman, almost as powerful as her surname. She is the CEO of Securities. And on behalf of Felleng Yende, I will have to apologize on behalf of Felleng, the CEO of FP&M SETA. She had a last-minute crisis, but we will be in touch with her. Please look out for our podcast that we will have with her next month. We will get back shortly to our speakers, but please join our community on Top Women. And also we are live on all of our social media platforms. We've got Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Topcom Media, YouTube and Instagram. Please do join us on any of those social media platforms. Please feel free to join us in the live chat. I just want to go into introduce our speakers and let them give more details into where they come from, who they are, and why these kind of conversations are important to them and why they're participating in this masterclass. Babalwa Ngonyama, if we may start with you, the CEO of Securities. Please introduce yourself, Babalwa. Babalwa, you are on mute.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. No, I must thank you first for inviting me to join this important and timely discussion. I think the world and our country is really facing unprecedented challenges. And I think it's important for us to deal with the issues of education and skills development. It's something that I believe in. With my background as the CEO of Securities, that's what we do. The development of others, in particular youth, is part of our strategy. And then my role as the chairperson of the Council of the University of Cape Town, what we do is to unleash potential.
Thank you, Babalwa. And now over to you, Pamela Xaba. Please introduce yourself and say a little bit more about yourself.
Oh, good morning. Good morning, Babalwa. And I also want to say good morning to everyone that has joined the call today. And really thank you for this opportunity and thank you for this platform. I think it is a great platform for us to contribute to our society. Just to echo Babala's words just around empowering people, empowering our youth. So I'm really, really sure that today we will be able to share some insights, in terms of, giving practical examples of what we think that can be achieved. So just really by introduction, I'm Pamela Xaba. I'm the head of human capital at Netstar, which is a subsidiary of Altron. So I have been with the organization for the past 2.5 years now. So I started my HR career 17 years ago. You did mention that I did not choose HR. Yes, I studied actually something else, but then, when I went for my first interview, I ended up in HR, which has really given us a great platform, just in terms of to contribute to the talent that we see in our country today and continue to have these conversations going forward. So I'm really excited about today, and thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Pamela. And thank you to all of our attendees. We've got attendees all the way from France, the UK, Lusaka, Egypt, Paul, and welcome to all of our attendees as well from Pretoria and Cape Town. So this is a very, very big conversation. It's actually going global. We are now global. So Babalo, I need to apologize. I did say Africa only, but we're now in the UK and all the way to France.
Wow, I'm impressed, very impressed.
And welcome everybody that has just joined us. We're actually sitting now on over 300 attendees. Yeah, just a little bit over 300 that have joined us. We will dive into the conversation with our first question that we will just jump into. And we will give our speakers each an opportunity to answer these questions and to add as well. You're welcome to add over and above what we're asking. Remember, we've invited you because of your expertise and you are thought leaders with regards to subject matter. The first question that we want to tackle is, what are the structural barriers to youth entering the workplace and how do we overcome these barriers? If we can start with you, Babalwa.
Thank you. Thank you, man. I think it's a very important question. But firstly, before I get to attempt to answering your question, I just want to acknowledge upfront the fact that we are dealing with COVID. COVID has hit our homes in ways that we never imagined. So I want to recognize all those who have lost their loved ones through this pandemic, the people that are in hospital or sick at home, and all those who are currently dealing with the aftermath of this pandemic. And I'm sure, and I know that in this room, everyone who's in this webinar will have something to say. It's either you have been affected directly or indirectly. And the colleagues, this emergency, I think, is far from over. We just have to ride these waves and make sure that we are strong for these difficult months ahead. So coming back to our topic then, in this context of COVID that we have just spoken about, how do we then make sure that we deal with the structural barriers that our youth and women, we are in Women's Month here, so I think it's important to highlight the plight of women. Firstly, providing quality basic education, it should be a top priority for our country. It should be priority for us as business leaders. We should have responsibilities beyond our own organizations. And more importantly, though, for our own society as a whole. As business leaders or workers, sometimes we tend to have a particular focus on profits, which is the bottom line. I agree with that. Profit is important. It ensures our sustainability. But I strongly believe that our responsibilities are far wider than this. We have a mission to create that shared value for everyone and pay it forward. And our struggles with COVID have made this very clear to me, and I'm sure to many of us in this webinar. Our young people, colleagues in this webinar, they can succeed spectacularly under the most difficult circumstances. I mean, we see very often the leadership of our school principals and the communities who ensures that these kids succeed. But what we then do when they come to the workplace, we write them off just because they come from a poor background, or their schools didn't have the necessary resources, or even they themselves don't have the necessary resources. So it's one of the barriers that we identify in the workplace. Sometimes we exclude people, or we don't realize or recognize the fact that some of our workers are hungry. They have been subjected to violence. They don't have the basic resources like data that we may need for them to do the work. So the odds are stacked against them immediately. So I just want to appeal to HR practitioners, to managers, to employees themselves and leaders. And I say, in particular now with COVID, where we are dealing with mental wellness, we have a mountain to climb here in providing the equality of opportunity. And remember, this equality that I'm talking about is also a pillar in our Constitution. It ensures human dignity, and we have a responsibility then to level the playing field. One more barrier that I just want to highlight, as I said, this is a Women's Month. For us as women, we have additional challenges of rising up in a man's world and overcoming all those daily prejudices, whether they are on the factory floor or in the office or around the boardroom tables. You know, people sometimes think that when you sit in the boardroom, you no longer have any structural barriers. I can assure you that we are dealing with lots of structural barriers. And let's then help our young people succeed. And one of the things we can do to deal with the structural barriers is to believe in them. We are all here today because someone believed in us. You know, let's support, let's mentor. So as leaders, as employees in this space, there's a lot that we can do in terms of ensuring that we create opportunities for our youth. Let me give you an example of what we are dealing with. I got fascinated sometimes by some of the people who just exceed even when the odds are against them. Some of you will know of an example of an American gymnast here, Simone Biles, who was born into poverty, had a most difficult childhood. He was sexually abused by her gymnastic coach. But by the age of 24, he was one of the most accomplished athletes in the world. You know, she was a leader despite those challenges. So some of this self-determination is inborn, but research has also shown us that this is a mindset that can be cultivated and developed through examples. And that's where we come in now. We can set examples, we can mentor, and we can just cultivate that mindset of self motivation. And that's why also in my own business, we are very particularly interested on youth and women, and ensure that in their careers, right at the beginning of their careers, we develop them and we inspire them, we invest in them, and that investment has repaid many, many times over. That I can assure you. So, Babaloa, if you still allow me, I just have the last part that I may talk about, which is the impact of culture. You know, how culture sometimes become a structural barrier in the life. So I'm going to spend maybe just 5 minutes on this important topic. Yes. So you like that? All right. Thank you very much. So the cultural barriers at work, they start with the ways in which we assess our future employees and how we evaluate their potentials. So I want us to look beyond these obvious and find that inner spark of possibilities. So barriers continue with our retention strategies at work. The assumption we make about the pay and reward, about what motivates people. We often talk about diversity and transformation, about radical changes in the ways that we do things, but then we go back to our old ways of doing things. We feel safer and more comfortable with them. So I just want to urge us to be much more imaginative, let the past go, do what is right. So what we have done, as I mentioned earlier, that I do serve as the chairperson of the Council of the University of Cape Town. We have identified the culture as one of the key barriers actually to our youth, to generally our employees flourishing at work. And we have we are driving now a massive transformative purpose, which is an institutional-wide change in organizational culture. So what do we do? What does that mean? So firstly, we unleash human potential at UCT, and we do that for the creation of a fair and just society. So we are quite clear of our African identity, and therefore we build this issue of the transformative purpose around the key pillars of excellence, transformation, and sustainability. Colleagues, one thing and one big mistake sometimes that we make is when we assess people on excellence only. I understand, and I am very clear in my mind that excellence is not a negotiable. It is a non-negotiable. But we also understand that excellence is not innocent. Excellence has its own downsides. It can marginalize, it undermines, and it does not happen on its own. Excellence must be enabled, and that's the culture that I just want to share. So at UCT, we want to enable that excellence through our transformation pillar. So we talk about transformation helping us question and strengthen the excellence. It makes us, if you think about it, it makes us think deeper as to how we build excellence, knowing very much that it can be exclusionary. And in the past in our country, this excellence has been used to exclude. It has been unjust, and it has led to discrimination. So we have to make sure that systematically then we become more inclusive with excellence. So we're saying that transformation then will bring the diversity we need for our society and for the health and progress of all our organizations. So the health of your organization is very, very important here. And without transformation, we believe that there can be no true excellence. So transformation, by the way, it does not just strengthen excellence. Transformation, it also ensures that your excellence becomes sustainable. And even if you look at the key pillars of sustainability, which is your social, financial, and environmentally. So by pursuing transformation, look at it this way, you are more diverse now. You will not be strangers to your environment when you pursue that. So at UCT, we're saying we want to be the best in Africa and for Africa. We are Africans. So we will not be strangers in that. And once you understand and know the essence then of your environment, like in our case, Africa, you are then able to relate to it better. And more importantly, you are able to serve it way better. So the issues of environmental sustainability now, they become much easier for you to overcome. So colleagues, if we focus on how do we engage our staff, how do we make sure that we prepare them for the immense challenges that lie ahead, as we deal with issues of 4IR, climate emergencies that is bearing down on us. I think it's important for us to question our old ways of doing things and question this definition of excellence. Let me leave it there for now, colleagues. Let me hand over back to you, Babalwa.
Thank you so much, Pamela. Very, very insightful indeed. I never thought of putting the two words together, transformative excellence, transformation and excellence itself. And the transformation, excellence is sustainable when to have, what did you say there about excellence being sustainable?
So I'm saying that if you do it with the lens of transformation, your excellence becomes sustainable.
Yes. Love that. Love that. Thank you so much, Pamela. And for those of you that are joining us globally, we just have a technical error there. So when you saw Babala's hairstyle changing every 2 minutes, it's not, we don't have digital hairstyles in Africa. It's just a technical error. Thank you, Pamela. We'll get back to you soon. You can mute yourself now. Now over to Pamela Xaba, who's the HRD for Netstar. And as she says that HR she didn't choose HR, but HR chose her. Pam, if you can just go into depth in terms of what, according to you and your experience, what are the structural barriers to youth entering the workplace and how do we overcome these barriers?
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Babalwa, and also just to thank the other Babalwa. So I've got two ladies with the same name on the call, so very interesting. So I think, Babalwa, thank you for pointing out really the socio-economic challenges and barriers that we face in our country today, which really talks to how we approach the world of work, or how we should rather, and then what that does under the umbrella of transformation and performance of our people generally. So thank you for that, and thank you once more for this platform too, and also just a chance to contribute to our society. So just going back, I think let me answer this question, Babalwa. I think I'd like to maybe base it on my own experience, and just to make it more relatable for our youth as well that are listening to this call. Really looking at how you've introduced myself as a speaker. It really reminds me of an article that I did with CHRO sometime last year, CHRO South Africa, just in terms of how my HR career began 17 years ago. And some of the snippets from that article really spoke about the phrases like, my first interview didn't really go well at all in those early years. It was really a train wreck, and as I progressed through my career also in those early years, I was somewhat of a job hopper. Because really, I just felt that, sometimes when I'm faced with challenging situations, I didn't have the necessary skills, one, to deal with conflict. And also, if I were to move forward, how do I position myself as a young person in corporate South Africa? So as you progress then and go through that experience, at some point, in my career, certain things happened that really gave me that aha moment, that one, perhaps maybe I really needed to equip myself with certain skills through mentorship, through coaching, and get into a space where I am comfortable enough, whatever happens in my workspace, I should never really take things personal. So really, as much as I was excited at the time that I'd landed my first job, but also all of these points that I've mentioned, they actually really signaled how unprepared I was for the work environment and the challenges that it presents. And really, the reason why I'm sharing this story is that because this is still a challenge for most young people today, even more so young people coming from underprivileged communities, mostly in rural areas. where we see, you know, in our HR space, where we talk about talent and talent management and how actually then to recruit these young people, that generally, you know, they lack work readiness, both from a skills perspective, as well as from a workplace culture perspective. And also, if you look at some of the stats coming from, you know, Stats SA in early 2020, in our country today, we have about more than 23,000 public schools, and they are catering to like 13 million or just over 13 million learners. And then, of course, we have another about 2,000 independent schools that cater to about 400,000 learners. And if you look at the statistics, I really believe that, you know, career coaching and work readiness initiatives should really begin at grassroots level in early high school. You know, they need a more robust, you know, intentional, coordinated focus, both from corporate South Africa, the institutions of higher learning, as well as any other body like the relevant SETAs that regulate the training and skills development initiatives in our country today. So I think if all of these organizations can really partner and have an intentional focus to really go out there and reach our young people where they are, and with the hope that also these work readiness initiatives that I've mentioned could start at grassroots levels and potentially, you know, in the long run, be embedded in the school curriculum. So, because I think that's where most of our problems in terms of our learners being ready for workplace begin. So catch them early on when, you know, they are really open to learning, because also this will help shape, you know, in terms of the choices that our young people make around their career path, around their subject choices at that level, which would then prepare them as they progress through institutions of higher learning, you know, in terms of what are the corporates, what is the world of work looking for in terms of the skills. So I think those are my thoughts, that let's focus really on empowering our young people, mainly from the rural communities, mainly from the underprivileged communities. That's where all of them really sit, and let us be intentional as corporate South Africa, together with, obviously in partnership with the organizations that drive these initiatives from a training and learning perspective, and have a more coordinated focus. So I really hope that that answers the question, so that I don't run the risk of repeating what Barbara has already covered.
Definitely answers the question. Thank you so much, Pamela. I fully agree. I'm actually happy that you touched on organizations, and the key really is in the partnerships of these organizations. And the school curriculum is a very, very big one, and one that will possibly take us. Do you think that we will ever get there?
Yes, I think we need to be intentional about it. I think it is a national, obviously, without obviously overgeneralizing, it is a national topic. And I think we need to start really robust conversations, you know, as corporates, in partnership with the public sector, in partnership with the Department of Education, in terms of how can we have coordinated efforts that gear towards the empowerment of our young people. So I think if we put that focus forward and be intentional about it and really drive key milestones in terms of how we can achieve that in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, yes, so therefore I really think that it is doable, but it needs to start with intention first.
Intention first. Thank you so much, Babalwa. Very well said. Sorry, Pamela. Now next to you, Babalwa. Our next question is, just to our attendees, please feel free to tune in to ask any questions to our speakers. We will be reading your questions as and when they come up. Babalwa, if you can answer our next question for us, what are your thoughts on initiatives such as the YES initiative? And what is the way forward in terms of these initiatives, according to you?
It's certainly a key business imperative, if you ask me. The YES initiative, it should not be the project that we do as on the side. It must be part of the strategy of our business. And why am I saying the development of youth is a key business imperative? Look at it this way. You are building here a longer term organization. You are yourself investing in the future. You are going to leave a legacy. And therefore it becomes very important that you become futuristic. And your focus, therefore, is also on serving the community, serving your society. And in that way, you get rewarded. That's where your profitability comes by. And then if you are to serve the society by bringing them products that are relevant, it starts, therefore, with making sure that the development of your employees, the development of youth is attuned and aligned to your business initiatives, to your business strategy, to the products and services that you want to provide and sell to your team. So once you bring youth employment opportunities much earlier in the life of any employees, I can assure you that, again, the returns that you get, they multiply. We have done this, colleagues, at Senayo. When I started the business in 2016, I mean, even before it made profits, I brought in 20 young professionals. And I started a project called Project Funda. And I had a particular bias, of course, towards women. So majority were young women, but it also had men. And we took a combination of people who were looking for jobs, who were already working, but still having 2 to 3 years at work. And we just made sure that we fast-tracked their development. We prepared them for their participation. It was at the time, if you remember very well, when our country was downgraded and your Moody's has not downgraded us at that point in time. So we invited Moody's to talk to these young men and women about why is it important to rate a country? Why South Africa is being downgraded? Can we compare South Africa with other countries, and how do we do that? So you can imagine now what it does to that young person when she is sitting in the tables and is able to contribute meaningfully and much more educated on those national issues. I can assure you the rewards that you get there as an employer, it's way bigger and better than when you ignore the development of that person. The last thing that I just want to say about development, it also gives confidence. The type of feedback that we have received from the attendees as to how sometimes when they go for interviews, they look for jobs, how confident they become, and immediately they get that job without even thinking. How confident they are on their day-to-day activities and expressing themselves in contributing on anything. It's quite amazing. So it becomes very, very important for us to focus on youth development and not just limit them on their just day-to-day activities. Look at the broader development and the broader needs of our society.
Thank you so much, Babalwa. A leader who leads the change. Thank you very much. We're going to launch the poll now to our attendees. We're launching the poll now. Please make sure that you feel free to raise your questions. Now over to you, Pamela Xaba. If you can also just answer the second question for us, what are your thoughts on the YES initiatives and on initiatives like the YES initiatives, and what is the way forward? And is there any way that you feel that we can accelerate the progress we made through initiatives like the YES initiative?
Yeah, no, Babala, just to put it into context, I think, today, institutions of higher education and training, also in partnership with various organizations in both the private and the public sectors, including the relevant, SETAs, as well, obviously, as the YES initiatives. They all have various initiatives that are really geared to prepare young people for work. These initiatives may include graduate programs, they may include learnerships, they may include bursary programs and apprenticeships as well, that are really, really geared to bridging the skills gap that we see in the country today. However, though, that we have all of this, but however, what still remains is the big challenge facing the youth, more especially, like I said earlier, from the underprivileged communities, is access to this information. We have the YES program, we have the YES initiative, but how accessible is it at grassroots level for young people so that they can consume and relate to this information and be very clear in terms of what options are available to them that are driven by initiatives like the YES program. So I think with more than 20 SETAs that we have in our environment today that are regulating the training and the skills development across the country, there is, and I'll repeat this, I have said it earlier, there is really still an opportunity for a more coordinated effort between the private sector and the public sector with the SETAs. One, maybe to host the annual career fairs in underprivileged communities or underprivileged schools, with the aim to expose high school learners to opportunities that could be available to them. And obviously, as they progress through institutions of higher learning as well. Because I believe that with such projects like, annual career fairs, there is, a chance also for the business sector to reach out to the youth where they are and help to shape the hard and the soft skills that the world of work requires today in corporate South Africa, or even globally as well, because we are in a global community. And I think that would also give our young people the necessary skills to be able to engage and compete with their peers on a global scale as well. So I think really we must take this challenge as the business community and really embrace this responsibility to help our young people to develop these skills and whatever skills that we require for our economy to grow as well. And I think this in turn, if we take this coordinated approach, it will really then also automatically help our young people to be more employable. Because, if you get access to this information at a young age, it focuses your mind in terms of what your journey should be, in terms of career choices, in terms of subject choices, in terms of all of the options that are available out there. It's all good and well that we have all of these platforms, but if this information is not accessible to young people at grassroots levels, I think there is a very big gap that we need to be honest about in terms of addressing it.
100% agree with you there, Pamela, that definitely the accessibility of the information is a major problem that needs to be addressed. Seeing that you touched on the future skills gap, if you can just answer the next question for us. Do we know what the future skills demand is, and how do we bridge the future skills gap, and which sectors do you think would enable us to narrow this gap?
Yeah, that is really such a topical question, Babalwa. I mean, if you look at the world of work today, and it's really, no secret that society is moving into a more technology inclined or more technology driven phase. And really it will require, skills, in the STEM environment, like the science, your technology, engineering, and the maths fields. because really these skills, I think, in terms of also, our youth being able to engage on an international platform as well in order to contribute meaningfully to our economy. These type of skills that I've mentioned will really also bring job opportunities, like if you look at the data science fields, you look at cybersecurity, you look at robotics, you look at software development, and all of this technology, type of careers that our young people, I think, if they really have access to this information at a young age, really, they can then be equipped to actually then, partake and meaningfully contribute as they grow up as young professionals in this global platform. Because in terms of technology, that's where the whole world is going, or that's where we are, in fact, today, and it's going to be even more so in the future. So it's very critical that we then prepare our young people on the necessary technology skills specifically, obviously not forgetting the science and the maths field as well. So of course, this is also a national topic in terms of youth development. But I think really a deliberate, intentional focus in terms of driving these skills and nurturing the young talent with access to information, this really would go a long way in terms of, where our economy should go going forward.
Thank you very much, Pamela. Over to you, Babalo. Is there anything that you would like to add to the future skills gap and which sectors you think might play a role in narrowing this skills demand?
I like what Pam has mentioned, so I'm not going to repeat that. Other than though to bring in a different perspective in this debate of future skills. I mean, if you look carefully at what COVID has done or has exposed, is that it's important for you as a person now to do something that adds value to your clients, to your society. If you are unable to add that value, sooner or later you are going to be irrelevant. So I think everyone here has a role to play with your maths and without mathematics, with science and without science. What I'm trying to say here, the passion is something that is very important. If you love teaching, it's important for you to pursue that. And then digital skills, they help you to deliver on that passion of teaching. You see the difference now. You're not, I wouldn't say go and learn digitization first. Digitization is an enabler. You don't want to compete with computers and do what computers can do. But what you do want to do is to say, as a human being, there are skills that I have been given, which no computer can do, which can improve human lives. So even if you decide to do anything in life, I can assure you, if it moves humanity forward, it changes people's lives. It can be far from digital, but it will definitely go a long way. So I do want to say to employers, let's align our workers in particular with things that they like. Let's not force people to all be scientists and do things they don't like because they think they can be better that way. That's when we deal with issues of mental health. That's when we deal with dissatisfied employees. That's when you find that there is no initiatives from our employees. If somebody is doing something that he or she likes, I can assure you that initiative and the drive, it then becomes quite natural. I have seen it. One of my other roles in life, I'm a non-executive director of Aspen Pharmaceutical. So as you know, we are manufacturing a vaccine. And what has been important in that pharmaceutical space, it was the race to develop that vaccine and offer new drugs. No one had a clue how to develop a vaccine and which new drugs will be required. But because we have people that are so driven, they were sitting at home and looking at a number of alternatives. When we engage with Johnson & Johnson, we will engage with them sometimes at midnight, because what we wanted is to make sure that South Africans and the continent itself has access to a vaccine within a matter of time. That was our key objective. And therefore, the tools like digitization and others, we learned them as along, they came along, and today we have delivered 10 million vaccines to our government to date. Something we've never known 18 months ago. So I'm trying to say, colleagues, think about this deeper when you're thinking about skills that should be developed and how, therefore, we should develop them. And what can you do in your environment to make things easier for employees to push those barriers forward. Let me leave it there for now.
Thank you so much, Baba, for that really refreshing insight in terms of allowing technology to interpret the function or the career instead of the career interpreting technology. We've lost about 50 attendees the minute you said that they should follow the passion, but all of them were mothers. I see all of them were mothers. That were Next to our final, our second last question before we go to the questions. Baba, if you can just start with this one as well. How do we prepare the youth to lead into the unknown future?
A few things there. I have mentioned that we must encourage employees to do things that they like. You know, you need to help them understand who they are, what makes them tick, what is important in their lives. I do not want to have an accountant who don't want to be there, who doesn't like accounting. I can not be a doctor, I know. If you come to my house, let's say we were in the same room, Babalo, now, and you happen to bleed, the minute I see that blood, I stay far away from you. I'll be the first one to disappear in the room. So I know I cannot be a doctor. I cannot be a nurse. That's not me. So any employer who can encourage me to become a doctor or a nurse is a big mountain to climb. So, you know, so those are the type of things that I think sometimes we overlook as employers. So firstly, and then once you work with people who are comfortable there in your space, you begin to develop their critical thinking skills. You know, remember we have already spoken about education. So you already have some foundation there that you have built. Maybe some of them are coming from UCT, some of them are coming from other universities, or even grade 12s, or wherever and whatever skill that they have so far. But now you need to convert that skill into a critical thinker who can then navigate this unknown world. That's what helped us again at Aspen. As I said, we got into an unknown space now of vaccine. And we said to ourselves, how do we then navigate this space? People had to think harder and differently. And so that skill is very important. The skill of working as a team, consulting and listening to each other is a very important skill. Life cannot be about me. Wisdom, is that we have, it comes amongst us, the three of us in this room, and the people that are in this webinar together, they make us wiser. You see, let me give you another example. As the chair of council at the University of Cape Town, I'm quite clear that as I sit in that chair, I am wiser with my council members and not alone as the chair, you see. So, and once we get together, we navigate the space, we then able to retain our university as top university in Africa. It's through the wisdom of all of us. I do the same when I go to Sinai Securities. I'm the CEO there, but I know the wisdom sits in that room when I'm sitting with my team and we are discussing. So issues of teamwork, the ability to listen to each other, think through things, challenge. Let's teach our people to be independent, to challenge the status quo. An independent mind, you know what it does to you. You don't just accept what your predecessors has done before and you say, this is fine. This is not what the new world wants. You ask why. Why is it done like this? And you think through it. You can accept it maybe after thinking through it, say, yes, this is fine, or you come up with different ways of things. But that independent thinking and objectivity, it does go a long way in terms of moving our society forward. One more thing I just want to raise, and one example maybe I should use. If you look at the tiger, a tiger is built such that they can navigate the space alone. And when necessary, they bring in others as well. They navigate as a pack and they navigate alone. And that's the type of employees you want. We want to build tigers, where I say to myself as a person now, I can navigate this. And I'm comfortable with it. I've got the skills. I've been empowered to do this. I have been, I have the initiative as well. But at the same time, I know when to call my colleagues. And I say, together, let's move now and let's navigate this. So that type of ability to be comfortable within your skin as to who you are and your purpose in life, how you want to contribute in society, not compete with others. It enables you then to acquire these skills much quicker.
Thank you very much, Babalwa. Reminding me of an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Love the concept of the combined wisdom and not just standing alone. Now over to you, Pamela. I'm not sure how you feel about whether you've ever chosen a CEO or a top executive based on their tiger skills.
I think we already have one with Babalwa, so we've done that already.
What I'd love to know, Pam, is how do you think we should prepare the youth to lead into an unknown future?
Yeah, no, that's really a valid question, Babalwa. And I would really like to say that, like many things in life, a good career requires planning, and I'd also just like to reinforce that they should really start, in the grassroots levels, in early high school, where students are given the space, and the time to really understand themselves, and their preferences, just to echo Babala's words, people should be encouraged to really pursue their passions in terms of what they like, but then also encompass all the other enablers like technology to actually perform better, right? So I think if we then, support our young people at that level, it really then gives them a chance to explore career options that match their interests, and just then that automatically makes sure that, in the long run, they become career ready. But I think with the relevant focus that I've mentioned earlier and the deliberate effort, both from corporate South Africa, the public, as well as the institutions of higher learning, if we could have a joint effort going forward to give access to information to our learners at those levels, more especially, in underprivileged communities, because that's where most of the challenges are. And they represent the large part of our society. And also, this also will help the corporates to anticipate the talent pipeline as a result, But I think with the key focus that during this phase, at high school level, we must be very clear about, what are the career readiness skills that our young people should actually master, skills like written and oral communication, just really the basics, how they come across, how they present themselves, their confidence levels, all of these things, of course, will come with targeted mentoring, with targeted coaching and so forth. How do we teach our young people about leadership capabilities, right? So obviously, if you're a young person, you have no clue in terms of how to lead, but it's about how you work with your peers, how you include others, the collaborative efforts that you put in together, just to obviously refer to Babala's analogy of a tiger, and also the skills like teamwork and collaboration, problem-solving skills, and also how to have a good work ethic. I think those are some of the skills that we should really, really focus in teaching our people, and those are some of the skills that we could then embed in the high school curriculum. Because then what that does, it gives us a pool of talent, that is diverse, that is representative of our society today in terms of our demographics. And it then, enables, because we see today that most of our organizations are starting to drive, robust diversity and inclusion initiatives, right? So if we can groom the diverse talent at an early age, and we actually then follow them as they progress through whatever career interest that they decide to pursue in terms of their passions. But then we are, able to identify that what skills are available then in our society that talks to the different industries that we have. So I don't think it's only the responsibility of the Department of Education, it's also the responsibility of us as corporate organizations, because ultimately, at the end of the day, we end up, with these learners in our workspace, and they are a product of what we have or have not done in their early lives. So, and then I think when we then focus more on diversity and inclusion, it then promotes innovation, in terms of how people actually approach their work and how the different views, come into play when we are at work, because then we are then able to identify the diverse young people that have brilliant young minds that can foster innovation, and then we need them to then create a room for them where they can thrive and create an enabling environment when they enter the workspace. So I think these are the key skills that we need to focus on, but also just the deliberate effort, a coordinated effort from all sectors to actually then start having very meaningful engagement around how do we groom and grow talent at an early age.
Thank you so much, Pamela. I almost said amen to that. That sounded so powerful there. So heartwarming. I nearly said amen. We've got a couple of burning questions from our attendees that we'll get to in a short while. Just a last question, Pamela, if you can touch on our last question, answer the first question, the last one. How can we use technology to remove these structural barriers that are prohibiting youth from entering the workplace?
Yeah, no, thank you. I think, to summarize all of that we have said in this call between myself and Babala, I like the point that Babala made that, let our young people pursue their interests, but however, use technology as an enabler for you to actually be much better at what you do, because that's where the world of work is. And that's where, in terms of, just the global outreach, how technology functions today, we all need, whether you're a young person, irrespective of where you are in your career, you need to be more technology inclined. But just maybe to give a practical example in terms of how we can leverage on technology to remove these structural barriers. I envision a situation where we could use technology perhaps to create an app or a database where they could connect, all sectors with the learners in the departments of education, where these learners can really, document or upload or create their profiles in terms of their career interests, in terms of their passions, in terms of the subjects that they are pursuing, and actually along the journey using this app or this technology enabler, document, what fields of study, what career paths are they looking for? Because we see this, as an HR professional, we see this in a recruitment space, when we try and recruit, and we have to use all sorts of platforms to actually then find talent, and some of these platforms are not even accessible to the young people that we're actually even looking for. So perhaps let us create that database where our learners can actually engage with departments of education. They can engage with corporate South Africa in terms of what their profiles are, because what that does, it will actually then also help them to take ownership of their own development in the process, if they know that someone is actually following my journey through, as I progress and ultimately enter the workspace. And also what this does for employers, and what it would potentially do, let me put it that way, for employers, it would actually then give them the opportunity to anticipate the talent pipeline that's coming up that is aligned to what they are looking for in terms of work skills. So I think that is just one example, but I think it does need a coordinated effort. There's so much more that you can do with technology, but leveraging, in summary, leveraging on technology, let us create an environment or a space where our young people can actually then engage on that platform with corporate South Africa. And then we can use that to harness talent that has the relevant skills that we are looking for in various industries.
Very well said, and really a solid plan there, Pamela. I wish you were in charge of it. So thank you so much, Pamela. Now to the tiger in our pack, the last question, Babalwa. How do we use technology, and how can we use technology to remove these structural barriers?
I think Pam has covered it quite well. Let me supplement it by adding this other approach. I want to remind us that, remember, technology is an enabler, and it will continue to be. It enables something, remember that in whatever you do. So it's not the start of your question, how do I use this technology? Your start of your question is, what is it that I want to achieve? In our organizations, we have visions, we have very clear strategy. And think about it, you have that strategy and a vision so that you can align your resources now. You can align your thinking behind something bigger. So why am I saying this? I want to give you an example, a practical example of what we have just done at UCT. we want to remain as the top university in Africa, which is globally recognized. And that university must be for Africa. So it's not just in Africa, but it's for Africans as well. So that's what guides us in whatever we do in that university. So what we have realized then in achieving this vision is that one of the challenges we have is our high schools in South Africa are not as strong as we would like them to be. I'm just talking now overall. We have a variety, very strong, and weaker environment. And as a university, therefore, if you look at it quite carefully, and if you want to compete globally, you need a very strong high school environment. If you look at Western universities, US and Europe, they are strongly supported by high schools that's very, very, very strong. So we thought, how do we solve then this problem? How do we strengthen our high school environment? And that's when we came up with an idea of launching the UCT online high school. So in our organization, colleagues, we have innovation hubs. Throw that question to those hubs. We have our own employees. Throw these questions to them as to how do we solve this problem? Let's think about it. Again, I said, wisdom doesn't just come from you only. It comes from all of us in this room. So what we then did, we said, through partnerships as well, we can be in a better position to strengthen our high school environment. So we partnered with Valencia Institute, which has a platform which is proven in this space. And we partnered with the Western Cape Professional Department of Education. So, and because they want a very strong high school environment, those people as well. And we came up with a school that is going to allow our learners to have a peer-to-peer engagement wherever they are, wherever they sit. So you can have a Nokutula sitting in Mitchell's Plain, but her peer is sitting in Ghana. Another one is sitting in Kenya. Another one is sitting in Botswana. So you see now this African university that I'm talking about for Africa, first and foremost. So the peer-to-peer conversation that happened in that online high school, the friends that they make, you are already building global leaders sitting in Mitchell's Plain, sitting in Soweto. They have friends, they have relationships. And guess who mentors them? Their mentors also sit everywhere in the world. We created in that platform a very strong mentorship program and coaching program. And at the same time, because we are in South Africa, we also have a hybrid because issues of access sometimes happen. Face-to-face mentors, we have facilitated that. But what I'm trying to say now is this bigger vision of being a university in Africa and for Africa, it's happening because of technology, the platform that we have. And we partnered with Vodacom and MTN so that they can provide free data to those students who are far away and provide them with IT capabilities as well. We do provide free computers at UCT to students who can't afford free computers. So again, it was just a thought that came through in a way that we could never have imagined if our first thought was to say, how do I use technology? So now we are sitting with applications which are more than 2,000 and 60% of that are Black. You know, it's your Black students who would have never had an opportunity to access that type of high quality education. So colleagues, I am convinced, you know, that once we have an innovation mindset, we can make a radical difference to the opportunities for young people from all walks of life, and they can become a much stronger workforce for our education, for our organization. I will leave it there for now, Baba.
Thank you so much, Babalwa. And for those of you that just joined us, this is not a UCT-sponsored session. We heard you about 20 million times. She's sitting on the board of UCT. This is a Standard Bank Top Women Masterclass. We're just going to take a couple of questions. Pamela, if you can answer this one for us. This is from an anonymous attendee who is asking, how do we find ways to support those youth who dropped out of school or didn't have a grade 12 to participate on a learnership, that had financial constraints and not able to attend a FET college? We have to allow space for them and move away from certain qualification requirements. What are your thoughts on that, Pam?
Yeah, no, I think that is really, really a great question because I think when we do have this type of engagements, the automatic assumption is that we really only focus on youths that eventually attain certain qualifications in line with what, corporate South Africa requires. But I think, I think it all boils down to the point that I made earlier, Babala, around the access to information, just in terms of the available skills programs that the different, SETAs and those type of organizations they offer today. Because, not everyone is academically inclined, so you also get a set of youth that are really, really good with using their hands. And then, so we need to be then very, very clear in terms of how do we then make that information accessible to youth at all levels in terms of, them pursuing their passions, irrespective of whatever field, as Babala has mentioned earlier, that we should encourage our people to pursue that they are passionate about, so not only in academics, but because obviously there is a great opportunity for people to contribute to our economy and society by using and leveraging on different skill set. So I think, to summarize and answer your question is that, yes, we need access to information for our youth, irrespective of the skill set, irrespective of the interest, irrespective of the sector, so that they know exactly what their options are in terms of what it is that they want to pursue, because there are actually many skills programs that also encourage our young people to use their talents, to use their hands, to actually create stuff that will contribute meaningfully to the economy as well. So it starts there, give them access to information, because the information does exist, but in terms of the communication channels, how robust is it? And let us be honest about that. So I hope that answers that question.
Definitely does. I hope it answers also for Anonymous, but definitely answers from my side. Pam, thank you so much for that. And really, truthfully speaking, that not everyone is academically inclined. In fact, some of the world's billionaires, a couple of the world's billionaires are not academically inclined. If we look at Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, should we say they're not academically inclined as well? And now to you, Babalwa, if you can just answer for us. Chris Hoffman is asking, this is for Babalwa, you mentioned the concept of shared value. Can you give us an example of how we can meet the skills and education needs of our youth and at the same time create wealth through doing so?
You sure? Because I think I have covered this. Maybe let me just look at it differently now. So the notion of shared value that I'm talking about is to say that one mistake we make sometimes as people is life that revolves around us and our families, and we think that by focusing on us, we can become bigger and better people. Whereas it's actually the opposite. Once you focus on the concept of sharing value, you actually standing a much better chance of becoming a better, stronger, and a much more wealthier in individual. So, so what I am trying to say there is that when you then think of education and the type of skills that are required, they should be driven by a bigger purpose. They should be driven by what exactly are you trying to achieve in life together. If you look at Bill Gates, you just mentioned Bill Gates, for example. He started Microsoft. He had a bigger vision. Steve Jobs, they wanted to save the world, those people. And then guess what? Money came. And a lot of people, not just them, became wealthier. They became billionaires. So the concept of shared value is extremely, extremely important as a starting point than the profitability, short-term profits that we tend to focus on as companies and individuals.
Thank you so much, Babala. Very true. As Martin Luther King says, that service is the key to greatness, right? Mm. Definitely. Thank you so much, Babalwa. Now, Pamela, Welile Velile Mabaso or Welile Mabaso is asking, your journey in HR, Pamela, how did you deal with discrimination as a woman? And he says he has experienced push downs from a woman boss, and it's prevalent. What is your opinion? Pamela, if you can just answer
yes.
that.
Yeah, no, thank you, Babalo, and really thank you for the question. And really, let me attempt to answer this question in a very authentic manner, just in terms of, my own experiences. When I started my career and progressed, I really faced a steep learning curve, just in terms of gaining professional skills and just really also coming to understand, the ways of my employers. So fortunately, with the support of my colleagues and mentors, I was able to, over a period of time, of course, able to overcome some of these challenges and eventually just build a rewarding career that I have today. So really my advice to young professionals is that at the beginning of their careers, they will certainly face certain challenges, but I think it's really always good to have an open mind. Make sure that you have a network of people, either friends, colleagues, mentors, coaches that will provide you with the necessary support and actually just give you constructive feedback in terms of, how to build your resilience, how to build your skills as well. But I think most importantly, always to remember as a young professional is that never, ever, ever, as difficult as it may be sometimes, never let situations intimidate you. Take ownership of your own development, not just academically, but, certain skills, interpersonal skills that you need in terms of engaging with other people, in terms of how people work with people generally, and try not to take things personally, right? So you work with people that are different from you, that sound different, and they don't look like you, and they've got different viewpoints, different backgrounds. That is why that is very important that you recognize that is different from your own background and try to embrace that, because that will give you the necessary skills to actually have a holistic outlook in terms of how you approach relationships with people and help you with skills so that you don't always, take things personally, or if people have a different view and they don't agree with you, then how do you handle those sort of challenges? And then just also build relationships with people. This is very critical because I think as most of business and society, we all, a network of people, and we're all a network of relationships. So you can never do things, on your own, right? So that's why collaboration, teamwork is very critical. So I think if you can take that outlook as a young person today, which goes back to the point that I made earlier, just teaching our people, just our young people in high school levels, just the basic life skills around how to communicate, whether written or orally, how to solve problems. What are some of the leadership skills or leadership capabilities that they need in order to succeed in the work environment? Yes, there are challenges, but it's how you tackle those challenges and actually be open to learning, be open to feedback, and recognize that you do not know everything, but then embrace a pool of people that are willing to support you. But most importantly, take ownership first of your own journey, and then everything else falls into place, I think.
100%. Thank you so much, Pam. Pam, and then Unsiki says that she loves what you mentioned in terms of getting readiness for workplace readiness being introduced through the school curriculum. She wants to know, what is it that can be done in the short term? What can schools do in the short term to prepare? The curriculum development would be a long-term thing, obviously. What can be done in the short term?
Yeah, I mean, really, the low-hanging fruit here is we have all of this information. So in the short term, let us start with targeted career fairs that we can host, as a collaborative effort, between either the Department of Education, the private sector, and the various industries in our country. And let us then at least start to have those engagements with our young people at high school levels, so that by the time we get to where the curriculum is developed to encompass that, already the discussions are starting to happen. Already we are starting to engage our people just in terms of what are some of the skills that corporates are looking for in different industries across society. So I think the time to start with those discussions and those engagements is now. That will then shape the future in terms of how the curriculum should look like.
Thank you so much, Pam. Those are the low-hanging fruits, Nsiki. Baba Alwa, now back to you. You seem to have an admirer there, Chris Hoffman. I don't know if he's, maybe he belongs to the Tiger family. He says there, Babalwa, again, you mentioned the old days, very relevant to our 35 to 55-year-old labor markets. What should we as a country be doing to skill this age group as they effectively lead and mentor the current youthful generation? Wow, that's actually a very good one. Babalwa?
Very good indeed. Chris, I think we need to nip this in the bud, yeah? Because those people, 35 to 55-year-olds, they could be very strong role models and mentors. Therefore, it's important for any employer to focus on their development and make sure that they become effective in what they do. They need support, Chris. We all do need that support in many ways. What we are finding as leaders is that, firstly, we are leading in a very different environment now. I mentioned briefly the issue of mental wellness. There is a Harvard scholar who put it very well to me and said, we are all in a psychiatric ward. We are sick. COVID has impacted us in many, many ways that we can't even imagine. So for years to come, now we have to deal with the aftermath of this pandemic. Now are our leaders equipped to do so? So when I say the leaders, I'm using the word loosely, including your mentors, including an older employee who is supposed to be monitoring in whatever position that she or he happens to be. That is a leader, if you think about it. Somebody who carries knowledge and experience. So Chris, first, it's important that we acknowledge that, and therefore we say to ourselves, what does this mean? And therefore, how do we deal with it? So I've seen in a number of organizations this peer-to-peer arrangement now amongst these senior employees, where they are given an opportunity first to understand themselves. Because if you don't understand you and the challenges you are facing and deal with your own problems, you cannot help anyone. That's why then we have some of the problems that we do have. So again, go to your thinking space, your innovation space here, and say, how do I then ground and make sure that my 35 to 55-year-olds are balanced people? You know, they can think independently. They can be objective in the way they do things, because most of the youth, like Gabriela has mentioned, was it Gabriela or whoever is mentioned, is they find that we have bias sometimes in how we do things. They saying that we discriminate them. It's this lack of objectivity, issues of unconscious bias, which we don't really understand and deal with. So those are the type of training that this group needs. Let's not be afraid to talk about our biases, whether towards gender or towards color or towards anything. They exist and they are there. And therefore, if we want to develop others, we must unpack those biases and face them. So I am putting it back to you, Chris, and say, navigate the space by acknowledging your old labor market challenges first and foremost. Help them deal with their own issues. They will help you then deal with your youthful generation.
Very well said. Thank you so much, Babalwa. We can unfortunately not take any more questions. We will have to wrap the conversation up and the session up. We've only booked our speakers until 12:30. We just want to say thank you so much to Babalwa Ngonyama and to Pamela Xaba for a wonderful, insightful conversation. For those of the attendees that would like to share the conversation with, maybe you've got somebody that missed out on it, or for somebody that you feel would gain from the insights that were shared, the whole conversation will be available on the Topco Media website. So it's www.topco.co.za, and you should just look under the Standard Bank Top Women Masterclasses. You should be able to download the full conversation. Babalwa Ngonyama, thank you so much. Yes.
Babalwa, can I just leave one thing with people, just for a second, as a parting challenge to all of them?
Go ahead.
I want to say to all of you that pay it forward. Believe in young people and invest in them. Help them to develop the strength and determination to overcome complexities which they are facing and constant disruption. Prepare them to lead into all our futures. We have a lot to benefit from that. And I can assure you, your investment will be richly rewarded. Let's pay it forward, colleagues.
Pay it forward. Thank you so much, Babalwa. Sis Pam, do you have any lasting parting words that you also want to share?
No, certainly, Babalwa. And really, the concept of paying it forward has never been more critical than it is today. So I think it's something that all of us, irrespective of whatever space you are in, always take it upon yourself to really groom young talent, because really that is the future of our economy, that is the future of our country. And really most of us anyway are still work in progress. We are imperfect people, only just striving to do better. I just believe that when we work together in an authentic manner, with empathy, with compassion, that's when the magic really happens. And that's when business really starts to make a difference. So I really wish all of our young people, the best on their ongoing journey of personal development, and also for our organizations, our senior executives. I really wish them well in building a more diverse, a more capable workforce. I think let's build each other up. let's build people, our communities and organizations that can create a better world going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Pamela. And once again, thank you very much, Babalwa. The last words were so powerful. I feel like being Naomi Campbell and saying, Amandala. On that note, to our attendees, our international and local attendees, please do join us on the 6th and the 7th of October for the Standard Bank Top Women Conference. We will now end the session. Thank you so much for your time and for tuning in. And remember to download your session from the website. Thank you very much, Babalwa. Thank you, Pamela Xaba. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you, Babalwa, and bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.